go. Welcome to the November 6th meeting of the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District. Let's begin by joining me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Note from our closed session, the Board of Trustees voted to approve the stipulated expulsion of student number 2025-82 by a vote of 5-0. And do we have any public comment on items that are not on the agenda tonight?
We do not.
We do not. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do any trustees would like to pull anything from the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none?
Actually, I just had a quick question.
Okay, sure.
So. For the sidewalk repairs.
Here, John. Looks like we skipped 5.
Oh.
Comments and reports.
Oh, we gotta do the reports. Jeez.
It's
in the old rhythm.
We have a new schedule.
Yes,
All right.
I do not have a report tonight, thank you.
Christy, do you have anything to say?
I only want to share that typically you in the past have seen the annual audit at this time of the year in November. It's due to the state by December 15th. The federal guidelines, they have not released that yet. And so our auditors, although they have completed our audit, they cannot formally sign it and give it to us to bring to you for approval. So we are hoping that maybe in December, but it's not looking very good at this point. They just sent out an email today saying that they still haven't received anything, and so the state is looking to put together some guidelines and information that we may all be requesting a deferral for, a waiver for extending another month or two, depending on how long that goes. So I'll just keep you posted.
Great. How about we start with Ryan, as far as the Board of Trustees?
Thank you, John, appreciate it. It's been a great month so far. I'm sure everyone's gonna talk about professional training and development we got to have as a board with the cabinet, but we had a great experience. Governance is a new field for me, coming in, the Brown Act, how to interact and encourage and come alongside is kind of a new thing that you don't really know. So I learned personally a lot about the process. I think the communication, which was at the meeting on the 29th was great, and it's gonna lead to some really great interactions and encouragement as well. So we won't be strangers much longer, hopefully. But I think it was very valuable, and I think that everybody feels more united as a team, I think, across the board. So thank you for the time to do it. So it was good.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. Want to thank Ryan, John, Jean, and Tracy and our awesome executive team for attending, for taking this workshop seriously, something near and dear to my heart. Love teamwork. I love being able to accomplish things together. This is a great district. Our students, our parents, our teachers, and our site administrators deserve nothing less than our best. So that was our chance to put our best foot forward, learn more about the job, learn more about each other, and really come together as a team. So I'm looking forward to doing some great things in the coming year. And I want to thank, again, each and every board member for their vote on that and for our team for supporting that. So, thank you.
Jean?
I have no comments tonight.
Tracy?
So I just wanted to share with everyone coming at some of the things that I've been up to since the last board meeting. Thank you to Olive Grove for inviting me to one of their Friday assemblies. That was very inspiring. The school, Olive Grove, divides itself into different houses, and so to be there and see the students and families was a fun and very educational event to be a part of. The students were engaged, the teachers were engaged, and so I really appreciate the effort that was gone to that. Was also able to go to Creekview Ranch and visit a classroom. The last board meeting, we were invited to go visit a classroom, so that was exciting to see students in action, building some games and discussions about that. Was able to attend the Placer County Office of Education, their annual school board members dinner and recognition, and so it was nice to see our colleagues across the county, those that were being recognized for years in service, as well as those that were recognized for completing a governance professional development, and then we also had the school board members that were nominated for School Board Member of the Year. It was nice to sit next to some colleagues as well and discuss and get to know them a little bit better. I completed my mandated ethics training as a school board member and I enjoyed it. It was a long time since I've been through an online course, but you know, it's always nice to refresh your memory and to just go through like, this is why I did this is why I'm in this office, and I thoroughly believe in all this. So I appreciated the district sending that link to me a couple times and saying, you need to get this done. So thank you for the gentle reminders. Our superintendent has also scheduled monthly meetings with the school board members, so that has been a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about Cliff, but also about how we can work collaboratively together as a board and as a leadership team to make ourselves visible and proactive out in the sites in the community and not just another visitor coming through. We really want to be purposeful about that. So working hand in hand with Cliff on that has been great. I have also been looking through the mathematics curriculum because I understand, not looking through the curriculum, but just what my role and my responsibilities are as a school board member. I remember going through that process as a teacher and then as an administrator. So I think it's really important role for school board members and for our community. So I have got tons of documents and I was able to share some with Ryan about, hey, this is what I think we can do and not do and things like that. So that's been engaging for me because my passion is teaching and learning and curriculum. And so I just wanted to echo also my colleagues about the professional development training that we participated in as a leadership team, and then extend appreciation to Jason because I think he was the one that came to the board and said, hey, I really think we can do this. So thank you for stepping outside of that comfort zone and really pushing that forward, and Cliff for bringing it all to us. And that's it for this month. I just wanted to also share with people that I will be out of the office, as you say, from about November 20th until the new year for medical reasons. So I wish everyone in advance great Veterans Day, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and I'll see you in 2026.
Well, that was impressive. I feel bad, I didn't do enough this last time. I also attended the PCOE dinner. That was a great time. I really enjoyed hearing the Teacher of the Year talk. I was very impressed by her and how she really affected kind of the older students who had special needs life and stuff. It's just really inspiring and made you feel good about what the county does, you know. And I was also impressed by Tracy enjoying her ethics training. That I never heard that one before, but that's cool. The training, we had this personal development training, team development training, and what I got out of it is the importance of collaboration and how willing everybody is to collaborate with each other. And so I'm looking forward to, I guess whatever the word, I was thinking of a synonym for collaborating, but people working together as a team. And if I have any questions, to go directly to the source and those kind of things. So I thought the training was a big positive. I think, I'm glad we did it. What else was I gonna talk about? I hope to visit. I wanna kind of start visiting more schools again. There's 3 that I've never actually, well, I did do all of them, but I've actually met the principal, and there's 3 that I haven't, and that's Heritage Oak and Silverado and Coyote Ridge. So I'd like to get over to them in the next couple months. And let's see, if there's any other point I want to make. Also, thank you all for understanding that I kind of made a mistake here early. And I was on autopilot a little bit, and I was expecting to do the comments at the end of the meeting instead of the beginning of the meeting, so I apologize for that. But the great thing about our team building is nobody's mad at me about it. They're not like accusing me of anything wrong, you know? So instead of skipping over everybody's plan talking, so I appreciate that. And let's go to Cliff.
All right, thanks, Sean. I'm gonna echo some of what was said and share some new stuff. So just in the past month, in October, we celebrated lots of things. One was Principals Month, so hopefully you're following our social media. Our comms team, Renee and Michelle put out great positive propaganda for us. So the principal's video, Jim and I were able to, contribute a few things, but they do great work putting it together, and hopefully the principals felt appreciated and honored by that. Renee did a good job she was trying to sneak around and get video of everyone without being obvious, so I think she did a great job there. Another thing that came out from our communications team this last month, in addition to the anti-bullying campaign, was a bus safety video. So if you haven't seen that, that's another great one. It's great to see our dedicated employees, just how passionate they are. So if you saw it starred kind of one of our bus drivers, our transportation director, and some other folks, and then we were kind of looking at it as a team and thought, not a lot of people either understand, know, or follow the rules when the school bus stops and the red stop sign comes out. So we thought, it'd be great if we had a visual, like an animation. So Michelle worked her magic on Canva and made like a South Park-esque video. So if you've seen the video.
Now I wanna see this.
Yeah, if you've seen the video, it's great. So it's, because what happens often is the cars on the other side of the road don't know what to do. So just trying to make sure we're, everyone's aware and that we're safe as we can be around our buses that have our kids on them. So if you didn't watch it or you don't know, if it's a 2-lane road and the bus stops on one side and you're on the other side, you have to stop too. So the orange, yellow lights flash when it's slowing down, the red lights flash when it stops, stop sign comes out. And if it's like a divided road and there's other lanes on the other side of the divider, they don't have to stop, but it's one of those things. Sometimes we have kids that not only get off right there, but they might cross right there, so that's kind of the danger zone. So great kind of video to put out to our community. And then another thing, our comms team was busy this month. We partnered with local law enforcement, Roseville Joint Union High School District staff, and you may have seen Megan over here, Megan Vine, do a cameo. Just trying to promote, again, student safety on e-bikes and e-scooters. So if you've ever driven around at all on the streets, you see these kids zooming everywhere and oftentimes, in an unsafe manner. So it's just promoting, safety on those devices and kind of what's appropriate and where you should and shouldn't be. So there you go. And then this week, well, I guess since I got here, I started doing bi-weekly check-ins with our executive leadership team. And I mean bi-weekly as in every 2 weeks, not twice a week. So I learned that bi-weekly and bi-monthly, they mean either or, so it's confusing. So every 2 weeks. Yeah, just clarifying. Our DLT staff this last month participated in a learning walk over at Antelope Crossing. So if you're not familiar with that, that's when all of our leadership get together and we go to a particular school site. The school principal, in this case it was Jamie, went over some kind of key data information about our school, and then we all split up and went in a few classrooms kind of focusing on a particular instructional strategy or instructional practice, and then we come back and kind of debrief and share what was good, and then she takes that information back to her staff. So we have a few of those planned throughout the year. I did some school site visits at Creekview Ranch, Cody Ridge, Antelope Crossing, Antelope Meadows, Olive Grove, Barrett Ranch, and Quail Glen. Creekview, we were able to go see Mr. Cole's class. We went one day, Tracy went the other day. If you remember, he came and invited us to that. It was, the kids were coding and creating arcade style / casino games, which I thought the casino was an interesting thing for kids, but we went over there and the kids were great. They used a lot of cardboard to kind of disguise the Chromebooks and create these games that they had coded. And I realized I was asking too many questions. Like the kids were great, and then I heard sound. So somebody had added sound to their game, and I was like, "Oh, did you guys add sound to the first group?" And they said, "No, we didn't have time." Maybe it'll be an upgrade in the future. And then so I realized they might have been taking it as a negative. I was like, "Oh no, hey, no, it's great." And then I asked another group something else and I realized I was not having the right effect, so. I was trying to be curious, I think I might have come across as critical, so I had to be careful how I talked to each of the groups, but they were great. It was kind of cool to see some of the different ideas they had. One group had interlinked 4 different Chromebooks to multiplayer their game, which was cool, so it's just kind of cool to see the stuff that kids are doing. And then at Barrett Ranch, you probably received an email in the past from Mr. B. He's the art docent who comes out, so it was great to go see him like do his work. He's just really passionate. The kids were totally into it. They were learning to draw and paint seahorses, and as soon as he saw me come in there, he emailed me and made sure I knew all the great things that's going on at that school and the wonderful principal, so I know he's reached out to you guys too. And then I started doing one-on-one check-ins with each of you, so it was great to check in our different ways, and obviously you're encouraged to visit school sites on your own. We might do some of that on our check-ins as well, just try to make sure everyone gets out there. We attended the Placer County School Boards Association Awards Night earlier this week. I attended a superintendent's retreat with all the superintendents in Placer County earlier this month, and then as was mentioned, last week we had our governance and leadership development training, which was just a great exercise, and I appreciate everyone's vulnerability and willingness to participate, and just looking forward to kind of building on that and making our teams more cohesive and collaborative, as John said, and just it was helpful to kind of clarify the board's role, staff's role. There was a visual they used with kind of nesting bowls, and so if you hear us referencing bowls or whose bowl it is, we're trying to clarify whose role it is, so. And that's my report, so thanks.
Okay, great, thanks Cliff.
Great update.
Now we're going to go ahead to the consent agenda. And would you like to pull some of these for further discussion?
I just had a quick question about it, if that's okay.
I guess it's okay, yeah, let's go.
For item number 6.5, the agreement for the concrete repair. Concrete, that can be a hard question to ask about. See, one person got it. Thank you, John. I just wanted to ask real quick, what was the nature of the damage, and was it posing a safety issue, like?
Yeah, so at Olive Grove, there's some tree roots that are uplifting sidewalks, and the mow strip looks really bad. And then we're gonna add a back curb in the back of the hard court where all the dirt's sloughing off on the hard court. And then at Barrett Ranch, we're adding 2 new sidewalks, one to the kindergarten playground, so it's direct access, so you don't have to go through the classrooms. And then there's a new sidewalk from the park, and then they've also got some mow bands that are lifting up from the trees.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, you're the best.
Any other trustee would like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Hearing none?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Motion by Jason, second by John, yes or no? Let's go ahead to action item 7.1, I believe that, which is Cliff DeGraw regarding the Board of Trustees Annual Organization Meeting.
Alright, so 'tis the time of year where the board has to actually set a date for the annual reorganization. And it has to be after the second Friday in December, so that's why our December meeting is typically on a different day. So right now, we have it scheduled for December 15th, I think, Monday the 15th. So just, right now, you have to kind of officially designate that as the meeting where we will have our annual reorganization. So
That's typical. We typically have it as soon as possible, which is that Monday the
Yeah.
15th before the Christmas break.
normally after the election, first board meeting after the election, obviously no one here was affected by election, so at least no one was running or getting a seat, but we still have to have the meeting, so.
Right. Any discussion? Hearing none?
I make a move, we use December 15th as the date for Board of Trustees annual organization meeting for nomination and selection of board officers.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to item 7.2, it's a request to approve the tentative agreement between the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District and the Dry Creek Teachers Association for the 2026-2027 academic calendar. Desiree Stevenson.
Yes, all right. Through the negotiations process with DCTA, the district and DCTA have agreed upon an academic work calendar for the 26-27 school year. Attached is the tentative agreement and draft calendar for board approval. This calendar is very much the same as this year's calendar. It largely matches the high school calendar, which we have many families in both school systems. So staff is approving or recommending approval of this tentative agreement so that we can begin planning dates for the next school year.
Yeah, the only real major difference between the two is the spring break, correct?
Correct, yes.
And so Dry Creek will be in session a little longer
Yep.
into the summer
Mhm.
than the Roseville Joint.
Correct, yes. So there were two calendars that were proposed. One that had just a 1-week spring break and then got out a little bit earlier in May. And then the calendar that passed was what we basically have been living by, so to say, for the past few years.
Okay, yeah, I think it's been 2 years now at least, yeah.
Yeah,
It's nice to have them in sync, as you know.
it is,
I've talked
yeah,
about that for a while.
absolutely.
Any discussion?
So I'll just add a comment.
Yeah.
So the other calendar, should it have passed, would have presented some logistical changes and problems. So when employees are paid for months that they don't work, there's things in payroll that have to change. So if we had ended at the end of May and no one worked, if the last teacher workday was in May and some classified positions, we would have to redo how we do some payroll things. And it is possible other districts do it, but it's just one of those, if we went there, this would be a lot of preparation and work, so we're kind of glad that we're going this way. And if this were something that were of interest of the district and the unions in the future, we would just have to have time to plan and prepare what we would be getting ourselves into as far as work, so just a little content.
Okay, thanks. And we also have that week off in February, which is kind of nice to some people, I guess, but it's for the teachers. I guess the teachers are happy with this. This is what they like, and so, yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Works for me.
Had a question?
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to kind of focus it back to teaching and learning and instruction and hoping that that's still the forefront of the conversation of, is this the best fit for our students and our teachers, and making sure that, the curriculum can align and things like that, because I know that it always been a huge concern in the past of making sure that instructionally there weren't too big of gaps between places, and that students weren't in the middle of something and then taking 2 weeks off and then coming back. And so I'm sure those discussions have just are continuing, but it's just one of those things that I always like to bring to the forefront. It's making sure that teaching and learning is always our focus and our primary goal for our students.
This new calendar actually will be implementing semesters, and so it will give more time for growth to be progress monitored and actually give more adequate data. Instead of cutting it into 3, it'll be into 2. And so it'll take some retooling and some changes with assessments and curriculum, but I think in the end it'll be best for students and for teachers. So everybody seems really excited about that.
That's exciting, and that's a huge role for our staff to take on, is looking at that. But the grading always, when do report cards come out and trimester breaks and things like that. So thank you for just sharing a little bit more about that as well.
And just to ask you, Desiree, it sounds the teachers have a positive view of this new schedule also. That's kind of
Absolutely, yeah.
the vibe you're doing
Absolutely,
with
yes.
this. That's
I
good to-
mean, again, it passed pretty clearly, so they must
Great,
like it
okay.
and must be happy with it. And thank you to those who have sat on our negotiations team to help pave the way in the conversations and just kind of being the bridge for us and for you.
Great, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion?
No.
So I'll make a motion to approve the calendar agreement between the Dry Creek School District and the DCTA.
Well, second.
Motion by John, second by Tracy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And I believe we're moving forward with the the MOU between, the matter of payment for professional activities, leave days between the Dry Creek Teachers Association and the Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District. That's Desiree Stevenson also.
So, again, part of our negotiations this year was working on an MOU agreement between DCTA and the district to buy out professional leave days. Each teacher has 2 or 3 days a year to utilize for professional time, which means they get to leave their classroom to perform professional duties, typically related to grading, reporting, assessments, etc. This means that each teacher can take leave from the classroom, which requires a substitute. And so there is an interest in both sides, both parties, to give flexibility for this buyout. It'll cut down on teacher absences and also will provide some flexibility and choice within this DCTA MOU. So this MOU is good for just this year, and it is beneficial, and if it works out, we will have more exploratory talks about something like this provision in the contract. So staff is recommending approval of this MOU.
Any comments, questions?
So have we ever done this before, just out of curiosity, or is this an experiment, because it's the 1 year?
We have done something similar during COVID, where we did just a payout of these days, just because the teachers couldn't utilize them with the stipulations of COVID. But this is the first time, I believe, that we've actually offered the buyout option. Again, teachers don't have to buy out these days. It's purely at their professional discretion, whether they would like to or not. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and we recognize that. Some teachers really value these days for important reasons, and other teachers just don't find them as necessary. And so we want to provide an option for our professionals that are doing the hard work in the classrooms.
I think it's creative. I think it's always good to try to, tweak and calibrate things to make it more effective. This wouldn't affect any of the professional development days we already have. Those are a whole different. Okay, great.
And I think I like the idea that keeps the teachers in the classroom more consistently, reduces the reliance on guest teachers, and really still allows them to feel valued. So no, you can, if you don't use it, you can buy it back or pay it back, or whatever terminology you use. But I appreciate the hard work your team came up with making this option happen. So thank you.
Absolutely. The negotiations team deserves a big shout out, so thank you to them.
Yeah, to me, it clearly seems like a win-win, so. Any other comments? Hearing none, would you like to make a motion?
Go ahead, Jane. I'll take it. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve action item 7.3. The request to approve the memorandum of understanding in the matter of payment for professional activities, leave days between Dry Creek Teachers Association, Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District for 2025-2026 school year.
I'll second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Jean. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Okay, we're moving on to information items. This is the Spring 2025 State English Language Arts, Mathematics and Science results. Shay Steffens.
Hi,
Shay
good evening.
Steffens. Sorry, Steffens.
Happens all the time.
I know. My mistake.
It's okay.
Again, we have a new teamwork here, so
Yeah,
we're all supporting each other. I don't know what that means. Anyway, thanks, Shay.
Okay. So tonight, annually, we present the CAS report from the spring prior, so this is the 2025. CASP is the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. So I'm going to go through the first part pretty quickly. Most of you have seen this before, but I knew that, Ryan, this is your first time with this presentation, so I didn't want to skip over the importance. Oh, and Tracy also, but obviously you have some background. No? And so just included our district mission, but really the objectives are to show the results, to provide some context to the results in comparisons to the past and to other districts, and then how we're going to use these results to inform our educational programs and planning. This is just kind of and this one's really important to me actually because it shows all the different types of assessments and the different purposes for these. And what we ask our teachers. So the CASP is the state identified, we have to give it. We went over this last year. I think John suggested we just don't give it. I'd love that, but it is what the state requires. But we do within the school year give lots of other assessments to make sure that our students are where they need to be. We use that data to provide intervention. We use that data to move kids into different groups if they need to be challenged, those types of things. So we look at classroom formatives daily, we look at progress monitoring, we get into our benchmark assessments, and then our summative assessments annually. As they shared, we will be moving to semesters. That's something that Brian and I have worked on with the grading and reporting committees over the last several years. And every grade level has said, please, can we move to semesters, please, over I don't know how many years. And so I'm really happy that we'll be able to do that next year. And when we look at the actual assessment results, it really is to give students and their families an update on their academic progress. It provides teachers with information about the current students' needs and how their previous students performed. So one of the tasks that I do at the beginning of the school year is I provide each principal with each class report. So the teacher gets the students that they had last year, they get to look at what are called sliders and gainers. So students that improved or students that may have dropped, so they can have conversations about how they can reflect on their teaching. And then we also do the students that are currently in their seat and focus on goal setting of, okay, these are the students that we have today, how can we move those students forward? It helps us measure each student for the college and career readiness, and then also it's our California accountability system. So there's 3 areas that are tested, English language arts, and that is grades 3 through 8 in our district, but also tested in 11th grade in a high school district or a unified school district. Math, same 3 through 8 and then 11, and then in science, it's 5th and 8th grade here in Dry Creek, well, in the state. So there's 4 achievement levels on the CASP. These are what they currently are labeled. Not to make it too confusing, the State Board of Education is going to change that next year. And on some of their information they sent out, they changed it in half the newsletter, and then in the second half of the newsletter left the old one. So it will change next year, and I will share those, but it changes just a little bit, like advanced, proficient, developing, and minimal. So these will be the last time you see these. But as a parent, when you're notified and you get into Aries, these are the levels you'll see your students at. So last year when I did this presentation, we had shown some movement from COVID, but at this point, we're far enough out that we're just gonna start with 2021 and looking at the data we do in Dry Creek, because obviously we are part of Placer County. We share Placer County, we share Dry Creeks, we share the state, and then we also share Sacramento County because half of our students reside in Sacramento County. So you can see that currently, and we've continued to perform above the state and Sacramento County. And then we just sustained the 54% in English language arts. So that's 54%, that means 54% of our students were a 3 or a 4 on that last graph. In the area of math, you can see that we dropped 1% in math, but still stayed ahead of California and Sacramento County. I made this one nice and big because we were just right under Placer County in this one, but for our science scores, we had 44%, which was obviously a 3% gain. So kudos to our science teachers. This is what we call a cohort report. So sometimes it's hard to compare if I have one 3rd grade team or one 3rd grade group of students and then the next year I have a different 3rd grade group of students. That can look very different. So this is the same group of students within reason, right? We have students that transfer in, out, those types of things. But the students listed in the column in 2024 would be students that we had last year in 3rd grade. And then you can see they slide to the column in 4th grade in 2025. So the green shows an improvement in the total grade level, and then the pink is a cohort change. So you can see we had positive change of 3 different grade levels in language arts and 1 in math. We can't do a cohort change in science because they don't take it again until from 5th to 8th grade. Again, this is a lot of our different subgroups. So we have all of our students on the 2024 side, and then the 2025 would be their scores from this year, with the green showing if they had an improvement. You can see we have the Asian, our economically disadvantaged, and our students with 2 or more races improved on 2 out of 3 tests. And you can also see that in science, we had huge improvements across the board. We have obviously a high EL population or English fluency. These are our different English fluency levels, and our improvement. Again, in green, in language arts and science, we saw good trends in that. So putting the scores into context, it can be hard to look at this a few different ways. So I tried to look at it with Placer County, Sacramento County, counties that are like us, county all over the place. So this is Placer County. It lists the LEA's name. I did put an asterisk by anyone that's a union high or a high school district. I did that because the state did see some gains. The second highest gain in the state was in 11th grade. So it did make some of the unifieds or high school districts scores improve. We don't have 11th grade. So just wanted to note that. List the total enrollment and then our unduplicated account, which is again our students that qualify under either EL or EL foster youth or EL SED, those pieces. So you can see the percentages there. And then they're ordered an average of the 3 tests. So that's Placer County, and then Sacramento County. You can see we're, again, close to the top with Sacramento County. Same unduplicated average of all the tests. And then this one is wanting to look at, because we are unique for many reasons, but the elementary school district, similar size, similar unduplicated. So these are districts all over the state that are just like Dry Creek or fairly close to Dry Creek. And you can see there's 10 school districts, and so we're 4th. Have looked and contacted the districts that are right above us to set up some meetings just to see if they're doing things differently and learning from them. And when I called Newhall, they said, well, when we talk to you, we want to talk to you about your science scores. So that was good. I said, we can share. And then this one's really small, but this is all elementary school districts. This one's difficult because you have some districts that have 132 students. So, but it does just also show you where we're at with just the 36 elementary schools in Placer, Sutter, El Dorado, and Sacramento and Yuba counties. So those are just elementary. Hopefully it's a little bigger on your guys' screen. So usually we call this the blue ribbon, but because our slides are maroon, we'll call it the maroon ribbon. So these are just some little shout outs for improved areas of performance. So in language arts, we have the improvements in 4th, 6th, and 8th grade. Proud of the 6th, 7th, and 8th. It is hard to get middle schoolers motivated to show their performance on this assessment, not for lack of trying at the middle school part. Antelope Crossing and Creekview and Olive Grove showed improvements, and then you can see our various subgroups. In math, grades 4 and 8, and then you can see the schools listed there, Antelope Crossing, Meadows, Creekview, and Quail. And then in science, our 8th grade did a really good job, and Antelope Crossing, Meadows, Quail, and Silverado were all up there. So, also the last one, the English learners enrolled for 12 months. The CAS test takes hours. It is very heavy on language, and so that was great to see that even the students that had been enrolled for such a short amount of time. And we've had where students arrive within the week before and still have to take the assessment. So it can be very difficult. So what these results mean, so lessons and takeaways. For this first star here, I'm not trying to gloss over that we don't recognize that we didn't make the growth that we expected to see, or would like to see. I think there's a few reasons for that, and I'll share a couple of those in the next, but kind of an example is some of our foundational shifts have not had time to take, or show up in our CAS results, example, our early literacy work. So some of the early literacy work came out of some of those assessments that we give at the school sites. So we looked at our assessments that we give at the school sites, at collaborative data, and we noticed that our scores across the board were not where we would want them to be. So then we had to make a plan, how are we going to attack that early literacy plan? Because if we don't attack the early literacy work, we get students in 4th, 5th, 6th grade that showed signs of being readers in K3, but struggle with the comprehension. So because we've just started that training in the last 2 years, we won't see kind of the fruits of the labor for the next couple of years. Just takeaways, we're constantly collaborating across departments to analyze our data and determine to make changes or improvements. I'm sure you guys don't think this, but it's not like we get these CAS scores and we just tuck them away. Principals spend hours looking through this data, trying to figure out, we get down to the nitty-gritty of which standards and targets our students did well in each grade level, how can they attack those, what do those questions look like at that grade level. We know as a district in total in language arts, listening, so how well do students understand information, and then how well do students communicate in writing are 2 things that we really need to work on as a district. And then in math, communicating reasoning, and then problem solving with modeling are 2 areas that we showed we need improvement. So the school sites will do that with their teams, they'll look at all of this data. We create graphs to have them show how they are to similar schools, all their different subgroups. So we definitely continue to look at this and make plans. So just to kind of, when I talked about the second bullet, some of our foundational shifts have not had time. Just kidding. Oh boy. Okay, so sustained practices. So there's things that we've been doing in Dry Creek. I think we do them really well. Do I think we can continue to get better? Of course. So the sustained practices, we put a lot of professional development and time into our PLCs and our RTI models, making sure that we have a period at each school where students have the ability to get some intervention. We spent a lot of time in our middle school classrooms with the building thinking classrooms. We saw some positive outcomes of that, which is great. We've worked a lot with mathematical routines and practices. I talked in the spring last year about our outdated math curriculum and how much professional development we've put to try to piece that to what the current test looks like. We've talked to you guys a lot about GLAD and our work with our English learners. We universal design for learning, our multilingual support, standards-based grading, extended time for learning, and then we've done a ton of work with improvement science to set goals, whether it be a certain group we need to work with, but to create plans from that. So those are kind of things we've been working on for a while, and we do see some of that working. Then the elevated practices are like, okay, what's not working, let's get back to this, but we probably haven't seen the work come through yet. So when we when we adopted Wonders, our language arts curriculum, there's about 4 different assessments that you can give. There was some flexibility in that in past. We decided that we wanted our teachers to give the most rigorous assessments. And so we've created a pacing for that, and all teachers will follow that at all school sites. We've done the early literacy training, which I've talked to you guys about with core literacy. We have the new early literacy assessments that were mandated by the state, but we extended that to 3rd grade so that we could additionally catch those non-readers. We have the vertical articulation of screening and benchmarks, so we now have that 1st through 8th grade. And then we've been doing a lot of work with our ELD instruction, so shadow following ELD students around, what does it look like in the classroom for them, what can we get better at as teachers to make sure we're addressing all students and specifically our students who are coming with new languages, and then consistent use of CAS interim assessments. So we have used CAS interims the last 2 years, And we're noticing in the groups that are using them, are seeing really positive results. So we're offering continued professional development. And I know principals are working closely with their staff to get those out, and have their teachers working on those. So before I go to questions, you all got to share like your favorite part of your board workshop. And I got to be present there, and James had said, the first slide he showed you was hope. And he said, hope it wasn't the term I always think of this way, but he said hope is a choice and a mindset that the future will be better, and there are pathways to get there as long as you have positive actions and inspiration and a plan. So I want you to know that our Ed Services team, along with all our site administrators, want to continue this. We have hope that our scores will get better by inspiring our educators and pushing them to evaluate their practices and increase student achievement. So that was kind of what stood out to me when I heard him say that. So at this point, I will answer any questions you guys have.
Great.
It was a lot of information, sorry, it just.
That was good though,
Yeah, that's,
really thorough, thank you.
I think we all have hope. That's the way, that's the way to go.
Well, Shay, I'm sorry, I missed like the first bit of your presentation.
Oh, you want me to go through it again?
No,
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, can we repeat it? Yeah.
It was really good, Jason.
I'll take your word for it. No, I did catch the majority of it, and just being on the higher ed side of things in my normal job, I know targets, retention, and learning goals are, it's such an organic, moving target. You gave us some examples of strategies that you guys had in place to bring up areas that were under target. Can you give us any examples of any tripping points, stumbling blocks, anything that is obstructing some of the implementation of some of those strategies, and how can we support you in overcoming those?
I think one tripping block, you can see our math scores are, we'll call it the struggle bus, a little bit right now, but no.
I can relate personally, so yes.
Yeah, no, and it's difficult, and our curriculum we're using was written before this assessment was even written, so we're working out of, so looking at the adoption and trusting our team to go through that process, and trusting our teachers who are in the classroom to select material. I mean, they've seen these assessments, they know how difficult they are. I think that would be a huge support, and then continue, you guys were great in supporting the early literacy work. You signed the contract for core, and that we were able to bring that, so I mean, as anything, when you look at professional development and budget from your side, it is really important. And anything you can continue to do to support that would be great.
So be proactive about attacking these areas of shortfall, and helps to know some of the particular areas, like within mathematics, like what kind of sorry, mind blank, it's been a day.
It's okay.
What kind of issues our students are having with math, what kind of issues they're having with science in particular. I mean, that might not be our goal, but it gives a lot of context, and you know, we trust you guys to do what you do best, so thanks.
Yeah, I think that, again, supporting the math adoption and our teachers, and that will be, and knowing that we are trying, every single person at those school sites are pushing themselves. I know I met with the principal today, and they shared that they met with a teacher to go over their scores from last year, and the teacher was just devastated. And that's not the feeling we want people to have, right? But these people care about the students in front of them, and they're constantly reflecting on how they can do better in their practice. So, you know, it's not for lack of trying, but yes, that's how you could support us, so.
Thank you.
And I will be back to present that later.
Can't wait.
So Shay, I think in the first two subjects, I think it was science and English, I wasn't sure, but anyway, the Dry Creek scores were right at the midpoint between Sacramento and Placer County, like right at the
Yeah.
midpoint. I was curious how the Sacramento County portion of Dry Creek compares to the Placer County portion of Dry Creek. Does Antelope match the Sacramento County more?
Typically when we look at those scores, our Sacramento County schools, Antelope Meadows, Olive Grove, Antelope Crossing, Barrett Ranch outperforms Sacramento County by quite a bit.
Wonderful,
yes,
great.
so, and outperforms the state by quite a bit. So,
As far as the English learners, is that mainly the Russian, Ukrainian, or how does that break down? There's also, well, all the other languages.
oh, we have so many languages, but we do have a large Russian Ukrainian population, but we have an increase in Punjabi,
Right.
do you know? We have, well, Spanish speaking, Farsi, I think those are our top four right now.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Yeah,
it's,
thank you, yeah.
So and just on that note, if, not that you need to put the results back up, but if you see the results for our redesignated English learners, right, they're called RPEPs, redesignated fluent in English, proficient. They can now, perform in 2 languages, so they usually outperform everybody else. It's pretty amazing. So if you see the IFEPs, those are the students who come and they're already fluent in English, initially fluent. So, and then another positive was, so English learners who've been here less than a year, right, they don't yet have full English fluency. But for that group to also make gains in English and ELA is pretty amazing. Usually that's not the case. Sometimes you'll see them perform better in math because, numbers are kind of universal language. So it's just some bright spots definitely with the English learner population.
Interesting. Any other questions?
I had a quick question. First of all, just to the point of Cliff chiming in, I'm excited to have Cliff's new leadership at the helm as we navigate all these things together. I realize that your team works hard across the board, but it's always good to have a fresh pair of eyes and some different ideas. Glad you're collaborating with some of the other districts as well, because sometimes we can't see our blind spots. This is all, very interesting. And so one question and one comment. The question is, now we have these new curriculum adoptions coming in, how much does that upset the apple cart with, making progress? And because has CASP already made that leap and we're catching up?
we're catching up to CASP.
Okay, so the curriculum adoption is gonna be congruent with CASP, so it'll have an effect. Good
It
or
will,
bad.
I mean, typically in past years, you'll see the first year to 2 of implementation can affect scores. I'm hoping because we're so behind that doesn't happen, but it is typical when you implement a new program because they are so extensive that you may see a slight drop. But
Yeah.
I'll just give you that
I know,
disclaimer.
it's a lot of uncertainties, it's all dependent upon how great the students do at the end of the day. Obviously, it's reflected by the teachers, but there's a lot of moving pieces. I would be encouraged to extrovert my thinking in the governance process, but I just wanna encourage you guys, I think I speak on behalf of my colleagues. We know every teacher and every staff member takes this very seriously. As a newer board member, you're popping the hood, I say that all the time, what's underneath, I've been very happy to see the diligence and the hard work that everyone does. And so I have no doubts there about that, and like Jason said, we really wanna encourage and support that process. The thing I think will help is definitely wanna encourage the positivity to remain diligent with the plan that have been set. You can over course correct and just go zigzagging, and so I think that micro adjustments, more than macro adjustments, as you continue to work this out, we trust that you're gonna continue to, it takes a long time to build a plan, and then implementing it obviously takes time, and so, but I'm glad we're measuring things, numbers don't lie, but they're not the whole story, and I'm glad there's a good plan in place to continue to make progress with this. So yeah, just encourage everyone to be proactive and not reactive, and I think I see that across the board, so thank you for all that. I think the student dynamics piece of this is very challenging. Generationally, I didn't grow up with the screens and the things that these kids have at their fingertips, and even though teachers encourage across the board, even especially with young kids, stay away from the screens. Screens for young minds are very damaging. Encouraging them to read paper books. Just to be involved. I know these are the challenges we have. It's gonna be a generational challenge, but we have to be committed to continuing human intelligence pursuits in the dawn of artificial intelligence. So we have to just continue to work hard. I think the basics and all these things are so important. So just wanna underscore that. And we are as a board committed to the district goals that we've stated, but number 1 is student achievement will improve as measured by increased proficiency levels on classroom, district, and state assessments with the intent that all students will demonstrate at least 1 year's growth. we're moving them forward, obviously, but that represents a pursuit of excellence. And so I feel the spirit that we're all on that page and just continue the good work. And I hope the people who are discouraged, it's really hard when you work your tail off and then you see a less than great result, that they take heart, because we do believe in whoever's watching this video, we do believe in you, and we hope that we can continue to push forward, because that's our goal together as a district. So thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I had just one quick parent question. What is the on-ramp gonna look like for students in terms of once curriculum is adopted and then their time to adapt to this new curriculum or step up to it, if I'm understanding the process correctly?
So we will hopefully have an adoption by the end of this year. I'll show you the timeline specifically in the next presentation. So then it would be implemented in August of 2026, so next August. I'm hoping for the students, because we've done so much work to bridge the material, they won't see the change as much, as it won't be teachers trying to battle the where do I bridge, how much rigor do I have to increase this assessment by because it doesn't match the state assessment. It's more work, I think, on the teacher end to do that versus the students won't maybe see that. I actually think the students might enjoy the curriculum in just the quick glances I've seen, because they're much more interactive, hands-on, those types of things.
Very good, thank you.
I just wanted, along with my colleagues, to, say thank you for putting the data together and doing the data analysis. And also making sure that staff have the data in front of them, so that teachers can look at their current students as well as the previous students and reflect on the instruction and then also set goals for the new year. I'm curious, if we've taken, and I'm sure you have, just how much attendance impacts some of the assessment results, and if there's a way to look at, students who attend 95% of the year, are they scoring better or not? And that might be one of our social media things that we do shout out, like that is important, and this is why it's important. And then it just for me in my role as a board member, I don't wanna micromanage any of this stuff. Like, I'm not here to say I really wanna see TK improve and yada yada yada. But it is helpful to have these data points, and when I'm at the park and when I'm at the grocery store and when I'm talking to community members, to be able to have some simple data points or facts like, in fact, Dry Creek is, it's this certain percentage of students did score proficiency. I like to be very accurate and succinct in my comments so that I'm just not giving a global statement of, they're doing great, So I really appreciate you breaking it down and being able to equip me with some talking points and some things that I can say to community members and public members and really, point out that hey, our English language learners are making progress, or this is our focus. So it's very helpful to be, for you, for me as a board member, and I'm grateful for you as staff to break it down for us like that. Not that I want to memorize it all, but to be able to share certain things with people so that we are being transparent and we're promoting our district and our teachers and our staff with numbers that are factual and things like that. So thank you so much for breaking it down and giving us those things that we can really shout out and be reflective on our community and say, hey, well, if you ever attend or have your kids go to this district, this is what you're gonna see and this is what we're hoping for. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Any other comments? I just wanna say thank you, Shay Seffens.
There you
I
go.
can tell and I really appreciate, you can tell your heart's in this, I appreciate your passion for this, I think that's really important, and also the principals and the teachers.
John, I just have a quick comment too.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to thank Shay for doing the presentation, because while she has to come and present the results and across the counties, both of them, you can see everything's like stagnant, right? And she has to come present them, but she's not the only one responsible for these. Like everyone in our district in this room is responsible for student achievement. So I appreciate that she always gets up here and presents it and takes the responsibility, but really it's not hers alone, it's everyone's.
Good informational.
It's good information, I appreciate everybody's comments, and again, I appreciate Shay, your heart's into it,
It is.
and everybody's heart is into this, and I really appreciate the passion, and we really care about the kids. So let's go forward to the next one. 8.2, the California Healthy Youth Act Sexual Education Curriculum. I believe that's Sarah Webber, let me see.
It's Megan.
Yeah.
I'm here to give Shay a break in between
Thank you.
presentations.
Let me get some water.
And provide an update on our process for reviewing and updating the district sexual health curriculum. This review is in response to the new state requirements and board direction regarding the supplemental video. So, let me do this. Okay, so there are two primary reasons for this review. First, the Know Your Period Act, AB 2229, requires updates to the comprehensive sexual health curriculum to include new state mandated content. And then second, at the direction of the board, we are reviewing several videos related to fetal development to determine which one might appropriately supplement the existing curriculum. So it's important just to note that we are not adopting a new curriculum. We are updating our currently adopted program, Positive Prevention Plus, to align with the 2025 state edition and ensure compliance with current law. Here's a look at the overall process and key dates for the sexual health curriculum update. So the committee was established in September. Between September and November, the team has been reviewing the 2025 edition of Positive Prevention Plus and previewing potential supplemental videos. In December, the parents and community members will have opportunities to review materials and provide feedback both in person and online. In January, we'll bring a final recommendation to the board for review and approval. And then implementation is planned for spring 2026 for all 8th grade students. This timeline ensures that we have time for careful review and community input. So our process, we developed a review committee that includes one teacher from each site that is teaching the curriculum, so each middle school provided one teacher that's teaching the curriculum. A district nurse and an instructional coach. We also have a principal and on the team. And then the team met for the first time on September 30th, and in that time, we evaluated the updated curriculum and reviewed supplemental video options. Their role is to assess whether materials meet state requirements, are factually accurate, and are appropriate for our students' grade level. This collaborative approach ensures that their input comes directly from educators who understand our students' needs and classroom context. All right, our next step is to reconvene on November 20th to discuss the updated materials and review our video selections. Then in December, we'll open materials for parent and community review and feedback, both in person and online. All right, and thank you to our board and community for supporting this careful review process, and we appreciate the time and thoughtfulness that was input from our teachers, community members, and families.
Thanks, Megan. Are there any public comments on this meeting?
We don't have any.
I don't have the slideshow for that. Can I get that sent to me?
This one?
The PowerPoint, is it on the,
It will be in the
We'll
minutes
attach
as
it.
soon as it's posted.
it'll be in the minutes? Okay, thank you.
Will the assessment one be there, so?
Yes.
Yeah, all of the presentations, yeah.
Can we have those prior to the meeting next, if that's possible? So we can kind of take a look prior.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we're still finalizing them up to the end, but yeah, we'll try to get them to
Okay.
you as soon as possible.
Okay, any questions?
I have a quick comment.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by how quickly that y'all got this going, so good job, after board direction, in September the committee was implemented, so that's very appreciated. Seems like a nice thorough process, which we like. Yeah, I think the goal of spring 2026 curriculum adoption along with what we're already planning, is fantastic to get it done. I think a lot of the sexual health stuff's at the end of the school year, and so that helps us slide it in this school year. Is that correct?
Yeah, each school site kind of does their own calendar for when they teach their sexual health. And one of the school sites is pushing it to the end of the year. They don't typically would do it in December, but they're pushing it off so that we can have the newest updated curriculum.
That's great, that's cool. How many videos are in consideration at this juncture, do you know in general?
If 5.
Less than 50.
Yes.
So then when it gets down to the parents and community review, it could be 5 or it could be less potentially as they make that determination.
Correct,
Just curious.
yes.
Great. And then what was the time of the the end of the process before adoption, when is that? I got through December, but I didn't go through the slide fast enough.
Oh.
When is that determination, final wait for recommendations?
We'll bring it to you, we hope to bring it in January.
January, okay,
Yes.
cool, great. Oh, that's it, thank you.
Thanks to the committee members. And yeah, thank you for that, Megan, and basically Ryan, I don't wanna be redundant, cause he basically said everything I wanted to say, so.
I'm in your brain today, John.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Megan mentioned that the flexibility with the sites, and I just wanted to add a note that I appreciate giving sites the flexibility about the teaching and instruction in this, because they do know their students and their parents and their community. And I do remember, that at different sites, there's different ways that groups of teachers that will teach this content, and so it's not always one specific class or one specific teacher, and I think, and the time of the year, and they just really know their community and their students and how best to meet those needs. I really appreciate that you I don't know if you meant to mention that, but I'm grateful that our staff has that flexibility, because it's a challenging time of the year when this content comes around, and so, to give them that time is great.
Just making some, any other comments? Thank you so much, I really appreciate that. Now it's time for mathematics curriculum adoption update from Shay Seffens.
Sorry.
Too fast.
I also have a guest with me. So
Oh,
when we.
I changed, my name changed.
When we do pilots in curriculum adoption, we always include our instructional coaches. So this time I have 2 instructional coaches who are helping me lead through this. Nicole Zanny, who works with our middle school, couldn't be here tonight. And then I have my sidekick is Corey Trainer, who's going to be working with our elementary staff on this process. So she's going to share some of the presentations, since you guys already had to hear so much of my voice this evening. And John, she was not only Placer County Teacher of the Year, she was State Teacher of the Year. So she's an expert.
Let's do a video.
so,
And a very good math.
I've had enough videos.
Yes. And Corey's been here a long time with me as a coach and has done a ton of work with our math. So when she's been waiting for this to come out. Can't retire yet, but so we're gonna go over this is just informational. In fact, I have news that came off the press at 4:16 p.m. today from the state, so it's all kind of I would say Dry Creek's a little bit ahead of the game because we feel it's so important to get new curriculum out there. So why we're here. So our goal is to ensure every student receives high quality standards aligned mathematics instruction. Understanding problem solving and reasoning. Obviously, that's an area I shared that we are struggling with right now. And so we are here to find something to help support that. I've gone through this a little bit in your board welcomings and last year in the spring, but just to remind you of what is a curriculum adoption. So it's a formal selection of instructional materials. They must align with state standards. They have to be evidence-based and they do get to be approved by the Board of Trustees. The adoption ensures consistent high quality instruction across all classrooms. So what will happen with the pilot, and Corey will go into a little bit more, but there's the pilot process. And we've already started a little bit of that with getting our team together and getting some training going on the new framework. We'll do an evaluation process. So as we go through, as I shared, we like to look at data. So we will look at tons of data from the teachers. We will also look at parent and community comment during that evaluation process. We'll take all of that and we'll come back and look for board approval. Once the board approves a curriculum, we'll move into implementation and professional development for next year. So why now? Couple things. The state told us we're going to do this, but we are very excited about it. But our current math curriculum is very outdated and it does not align with the new frameworks. Teachers and administrators have identified areas of growth. Again, I shared some of those with you. And the updated frameworks emphasize problem solving and reasoning, which isn't really in our current curriculum and has kind of been an addition that we've been trying to add.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Are there new standards? No, the Common Core standards are still in place. The shift that has been made is the frameworks in the mathematical area. So the mathematics frameworks are new. Just to remind you that the goals of the standards is really the what of what our teachers are teaching and what the students are learning. The frameworks is more the blueprint of how they're teaching them. And so why new frameworks at this time? The new frameworks really lay out a curricular and instructional approach and research, and through research and evidence that shows and it allows all students have access to this curriculum at high levels. So high level content and high level curriculum. So mathematical framework guideline themes, what they do, the framework aligns the California Common Core standards, which is, I just discussed, the what, and the standards for mathematical practices, and that's the how students will learn that. It integrates the current research to support every learner through UDL, which is that Universal Design for Learning that we have been implementing in our district for a little while now. Also, it's giving us the clearer guidance on how to teach, assess, and help students succeed. It also gives all students access to Achieve and includes real-world skill application and supports that quality materials. So what does it mean in math education? What they learned through the research is memorization is no longer just adequate. What we need to do is make sense of the world through math and through math learning with real world application. Data is everywhere and companies are looking for students coming to them out of college, and so we need to prepare them for that, with the ability to reason with data. They learn most flexibly. The learning needs to be flexible and transferable, and it should be collaborative, include some technology, and then real world relevance. So I wanted to give a little more information on that one. So what it would look like in the classroom is students will be working in groups, perhaps on problem solving. You're gonna see some manipulatives, students working with drawings to show their understanding, reasoning their thinking out loud with each other and explaining how they're thinking about mathematics, solving problems using multiple representations like graphs, tables, word problems, things like that. So our pilot goals that we came up with for our pilot team this year in our pilot process is to evaluate the quality and usability of a potential math program. We want to make sure that we gathered teachers, students, and community feedback about the new curriculum and identify the materials that best support diverse learners and also recommend a program for district-wide adoption. So those are our overall goals as a pilot team. The pilot structure, we actually have 25 teachers, TK through 8, that are regular classroom teachers and also special ed teachers that are participating in our pilot this year. Shay will have a more publisher update because she got that hot off the press today. But it will be determined by the team what we determine that we should pilot this year and then hopefully go for adoption. And then the duration, we started this fall with our team with the learning, and then we'll end this spring. Our supports will be professional development sessions, coaching from us coaching team, and then also the publishers hopefully, and then PLC collaboration. And then also we wanted to point out the feedback from community teachers, and I think the student part is really important too, getting the input from the students on how they're feeling about the different programs. So this is our timeline, and Shay briefly talked about it, but we started planning and training with our math pilot team this fall. We will meet with them the second time these next couple weeks. And then our pilot implementation will be in the winter and then go through the spring. And then we'll evaluate the programs at that time, evaluate and review. And then we'll do another board presentation and adoption in the late spring and then implementation in the fall of 2026.
So this was, obviously the presentation was created before 4:16 p.m. today. But these were a sample of some of the participating publishers and content developers that IQC, that's the Instructional Quality Commission, had pushed forward to the State Board of Education to look at. There was a public hearing today, and I'll read it. It says, following the public hearing, State Board of Education approved the adoption of 64 instructional materials recommended by the IQC that align with the mathematics framework, which centers teaching around major conceptual ideas and follows best practices for equitable math instruction for all students. There is 10 programs for K-5, 4 programs for K-6, 9 programs for K-8. In summary, there's about 28 programs for our student group of TK-8 to look at. One of the pieces that we've already, a tool we've already used with our pilot teams is Ed Reports. And so Ed Reports gives information on each publisher and it's a review. So they do 3 gateways. So they look at the focus and coherence of the program, they look at the rigor and mathematical practices, and then they look at the teacher and student supports in each program, and then they rate those programs. And so they give a rating, we had our teachers go through all of the ones on the list that they were able to look at all their Ed Reports, read about them, look at our goals for a pilot. And so we've started collecting samples from the different publishers. I think we have about 8 or 9.
I think we have
9 so far here. They're amazing already just to see them. And we will also participate in PCOE. We'll have the opportunity for districts to come and look at all of the different curriculum. Typically, we choose 2 from that process. And those are the 2 that we would move forward to pilot in the classrooms. Where's my sheet? We created a pilot pre-screening, so just so you have an idea of kind of what we're looking at the design and structure, so how the program's organized. And then the instructional practices and student engagement. Is it hands-on? Are there interactive activities? How is the problem solving? Are the questions open-ended? Does it teach multiple strategies? We're looking at differentiation and support. So is there additional supports for tier 2 and tier 3? That's oftentimes something we hear from teachers, that with our current math curriculum, there is not any intervention support and they're having to create those materials on their own. They don't know if they're creating them to the right, to the standard, to the right level of the student. So to have some support in that is really important. We'll also look at the instructional materials and resources, just the layout and formatting for students. Is it clear? There's some things with our current curriculum. The website is very clunky to get into. It's really hard for students to access. So those are all big pieces that we look at. And then assessments and performance tasks. So we looked at one quickly that came in, and we could already tell that it was a curriculum we've used in the past and they had not changed their assessments at all. And that tells me right there that they didn't change their assessments to meet the state test. So we will give it a fair shot and give it all the ratings, but that was kind of the type of thing we're looking for. We know what's going to be asked on the CAS. We need to get our students there. Performance tasks, as I explained last spring, are a huge portion. That's that big overall question where you have to problem solve within it, are a huge chunk of student scores. And so we need material that's going to have performance tasks for students to practice. So in addition, that's something we'd be looking for. So this, like I said, this was just to keep you guys apprised of what's happening, what we're doing. We go December, I think it's the 13th to PCOE to look. At that point, we will hopefully set up the 2 publishers. What we do is we choose the 2 publishers. We start with one. That publisher will do training with our teachers, and then we'll go through that process for weeks in the classroom. The students will try it. At that point, there's notification to parents of of all of Dry Creek saying we're doing the pilot process, and then there's specific notification to parents of your student is in the pilot class, of the classroom. And then we'll have the second publisher come out. They'll also train, we'll again do a couple, weeks of the of trying that curriculum. We'll collect all of that data. During that time, we'll have the window open for parents and community to look at the information, to look at what the publisher offers. And we typically set it up out here and then have an online platform also. And then we will come back and bring you an update when we have more information on that, but that's how the process works. So any questions on what information we have so far?
So you mentioned a collaborative learning process as a part of this curriculum, but which is great, but will there continue to be processes that foster independent learning, the ability to work independently? Not everyone's gonna obviously work in group settings all the time, so being able to figure things out for oneself. And then speaking of data, the four-letter word AI comes to mind. How do we mitigate, or what steps or processes within this curriculum are there gonna be to mitigate the abusive use of AI to, I don't know, solve problems, do homework, a lot of, real
I think Ryan needs to do a presentation on that. Brian could talk a little bit about, they've been working on that.
We do have a group of teachers looking into AI and how it can support the classroom. There's twofold, one being how to make teachers more efficient in their roles as teachers using AI, but also what applications are out there now for Dry Creek to look at and evaluate to use in the classroom with students. We see it as more as support for students, not as a give you the answer to a problem you're looking up. And there are quite a few educational AI products that are out there right now that we're reviewing. So be on the lookout for another presentation for us on that as well. But yeah, we're seeing it more as an assist for students. There's many of these tools now are not, they're really taking the students, they're asking them as if they were the tutor, what should you do next? Knowing what you've done wrong now, or you didn't have the right answer, pointing them towards the resources they have in order to solve that problem.
I think moreover, not so much as part of the learning process, but like when it comes to homework and things like that, how are we gonna detect, and this also extends to ELA, how are we gonna detect when these tools are being used, and how do we counteract that?
Yeah, I think right now what we're seeing is a lot is teachers are actually doing the work in class with students that they wanna see independent work happening. So if there's something that they can, a student can go home and do research on, and then if they're unlimited to their resources to bring it back, fine. But to be truly evaluated, students are having that assessment in class where the teachers can control that environment.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question for Corey, I guess, I don't know, the teacher of the year. So when I went to school, I've taken lots of math classes in my life, and it was always focused on getting the right answer. And I had a couple daughters go through the math curriculum here and also in high school. And I've noticed that they are graded oftentimes, not just on getting the answer correctly, but having the correct steps of reasoning shown prior to the answer. So if they get the right answer, they don't have the right reasoning steps, they don't get full credit. I don't understand why, because I understand, I saw the presentation about learning how to think and reason and use data, but just be honest with you, I don't see the reason for that. I think getting the right answer obviously takes some kind of reasoning. Why do they have to go through these steps?
I think,
Does that make sense, that
yes,
question?
I totally understand what you're saying, and that has always been a question that people have asked me. I taught very similarly to the way the new frameworks are coming out, because I happened to be able to go through a training. It was called Success Math, it was through the county, and it was many, many years ago. But it shifted my learning, or my teaching. Honestly, I didn't think I was a good math instructor before that. But getting to that point is, what I learned is having the students explain their process, whether it's verbally or in writing, told me how they're getting to the process. Because as an educator, if they get the wrong answer or the right answer, I need to know how they got there. And so it's that explaining of their thinking, because you and I could work on the same math problem and we could come completely at different directions, and that's okay. And it's not always about the answer, it really is not. It's about the inquiry, it's about the discovery, it's about the creativity in math sometimes, and how we can build on that, because it really, I don't know, I get very passionate about math, so I could go on, but to me, and a lot of educators, they wanna know how the students got to that process. I don't know if I necessarily agree with taking away points for not getting to that process. That's a philosophical difference that some educators have. But I understand why some teachers do it.
That's interesting to me. I wish I could, I'm open-minded about this. I've been an engineer for 30 years,
Yeah.
right? And to me, my job is always about getting the right answer.
Right.
Nobody cared how I got there, right? And I always looked at math as just getting, 9 times 9 is 81. I don't care if you see 9 apples over here or whatever, And so I understand the reasoning process for lots of things, but I can't make the leap for that for math. And maybe that's just where my mind is at, so I'll see where I could go there.
Yes.
But things, and so you believe in the reasoning, you believe in the process, you think it's.
I do, because I really believe, I taught at Barrett Ranch, and it really leveled the playing field for all my students. I had gifted students and then newcomers who didn't even speak the language, and it leveled my math playing field in my classroom, so all students participated. And they came in at the beginning of the year, most of my students hated math. And let me tell you, when they left, they loved math. It was their favorite subject. And that told me and the students improved, and they just had this passion for just inquiry-based learning. And so yeah, I do believe in it.
That's interesting. But the gifted students were still excelling.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And then I can,
thank you for that.
I can just share anecdotally, I was visiting a class earlier this week. It was at Quail Glen. We visited, I think it was a 5th grade math class, and it was a pretty complex mixed fractions, word problem. And the teacher wasn't focused on answering it a certain way. She was focused on the correct answer, but students were reaching it in multiple different ways. So some found the lowest common denominator between all the fractions, added it up, subtracted from the whole to figure out the answer. Others realized there was kind of like terms. There was, some of the terms were in terms of fourths, others were in thirds. And so some added up the fourths, then the thirds, then put them together. So it was really, the kids had to explain, and I answered it a different way than the kids. There's at least 3 or 4 ways that kids were approaching to get to the answer. And the goal was to get to the answer, the right answer, but it was fascinating just to see the kids kind of explain why they went this way, why they went this way, why they went this way, and I went a different way, so. And I think you guys had mentioned that it's not that there's one particular way, there might be several different ways, but if you can verbalize that, if you can get to any teacher will tell you this, if you're asked to explain how you know something or how you learn something, you become a better learner when you have to actually teach it to someone else rather than just knowing it. So it's almost, there's a little element of that as well. So yes, did you get the answer? What was your answer? Now, how did you get there? Can you explain that? So it is, it is a valuable.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing from you and from Corey is that especially for students who are not really into math and can never get to the right answer, this will help you see where they have the hang up in getting or the stop or the problem in getting to the right answer. And so that'll help you, you follow me?
Yes.
Kind of
Absolutely,
on the right, okay. Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
That's helpful. My immediate thought was, man, how do you do a group math problem? That sounded like a nightmare, but I'm glad you articulated it. It sounds like it makes a lot more sense, because I was like, that's just sounded crazy. So in that process, you mentioned, Corey, great explanation, by the way. I love how you phrased it, and your background and expertise is super helpful to have in the process, so glad to have you on board. But what does it mean, equitable math instruction? Is that part of it, like you said? Like, you got kids in various places, trying to get them all in this, in the sandbox, if you will, engaging and learning something, or how would you say that? Because it seems like to be a goal of the statewide adoption.
Yes,
So I just was curious, what does that mean? How do you measure that?
It's allowing students to all see themselves as mathematicians. I can't tell you, I was in the classroom for 23 years and in education for 33 years. And most students would come and say either they were a math person or they weren't a math person. It's allowing all students to see themselves as mathematicians. And it is an inquiry-based approach where I said before, it levels that playing field where everybody can have something to say about a problem and how they thought about it. And so that's what makes it more, like I said, accessible for all kids.
Interesting, that's a good answer, thank you. I think because
Can I
this,
add just this comment on that
Please do,
too?
yes.
So, and this has been a goal of, I think, the state and educators for many years. There are certain demographics, certain student groups who, by way of how we used to kind of gatekeep each math level, they would never be able to reach some of the higher level math classes. So if you think kind of the TK through 12, spectrum, we're always looking for ways to encourage and support any and all students to be able to reach some of those higher level accelerated math classes. And so it kind of mentioned it in one of the slides, trying to provide access to those pathways. So like in the past, let's say, the old algebra, geometry, algebra 2, if you didn't get into algebra 1 as an 8th grader, you weren't gonna make it to, AP Calc or whatever by the time you got to a senior. And then there were, different focuses on what about students who, maybe they don't take algebra 1 in 8th grade, they take math 8, they get into algebra 1 or integrated 1 in high school. Are there ways for them to accelerate to get back up to those higher math classes at some point? So it's not just what Corey said, but in addition, helping kids access those higher level math classes in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
So
that's
that's just another piece.
I like Cliff's high school integration knowledge, it's helpful to have. So as we kind of strategize how to help them succeed down the road, so. Cause I definitely took an off ramp, like my senior year based on my degree program, I'm out, so I pulled my parachute. But I think the high stakes nature of this is so palpable because math is such a struggle and you feel it at home when you're 4th grader, hypothetically, let's say, just crying most days doing your new math at home. And so I think I mentioned this at a prior meeting, but the slide that was put on screen during our parent orientation was Sam and Frodo coming through Mordor, just looking like they'd been through hell. And it's like, the caption was, the feeling you have of completing your 4th grade homework together, because parents are involved. And so I would love to see and hear how, not tonight, but just in general, that's a big challenge, obviously. Because even the narrative at home, because I don't know many parents who say, I'm a mathematician. And so who feel confident instilling a positive view of math to their kids because, the frustration is, it's real for all parties. And so we want them to have confidence. And we also, as parents, don't want to be, a dead weight for the teachers, with the narrative we have towards math, because it's not like it was in the 80s and the 90s and the whatever. So, I don't know, I'm very open like John, but I'm hoping along the way they could better accommodate the people at home with some good, mental and practical tips to get that done. One thing that's been helpful is our teacher for my 4th grader in one of our schools here. He's got some, supplemental YouTube videos, and so it's kind of like a tutorish thing, kind of like what Brian is sort of talking about. We're not doing AI with our 4th grader, but I'm tempted to sometimes. This problem's pretty hard even in 4th grade. And so, but yeah, anything that y'all can think of to help support the other side of the equation, would be great. I know a lot of parents won't touch homework with a 10-foot pole. Others, we're doing the best we can. I'm relearning 4th grade math, so, and it's been helpful for me. And so, one quick tactical question, when we make this curriculum adoption, will we be purchasing this in this school year? Will that go on the books for this school year? And then, so yeah, we'll,
If approved, yes.
we'll approve it when it's time, so
Yes.
get it done.
We will.
But, and then secondarily, are the curriculums, I know we're gonna narrow it down to 2, are those, like going to a car lot and one's got leather interior and one's got cloth? I mean, are they priced that way to where there's a big disparity between the prices for
You
these?
can imagine they have not showed us the prices yet.
Okay,
We have not gotten into that part. They're all have bells and whistles now. I mean, especially compared to what we were used to.
So there's the entry level and then you can get the deluxe package.
But that is why we use the toolkit from the state to create that pre-screening process. It's actually something we created in Dry Creek. And they ended up using in the county, to go through that pre-screening process before we even get to like the actual.
Yeah.
It's to pre-screen all those materials because it is hard to look at them. Cause there's ones that are fancy and then when you really start looking at them, you're like, this wasn't as great as I thought it was, cause it doesn't have any parent help component or those types of pieces, so, I think that pre-screening process is going to be very important. We've also, I just wanted to touch on your, like the parent communication. It actually came up when we were meeting recently and, when we rolled out the Common Core standards years ago, we did provide training for parents, but that's been a long time and many of those parents have left. And so we were discussing how important with the rollout of new curriculum that it would be, beneficial to offer not just the training on Common Core, but how to support your students with math, cause thank goodness I'm married to a math teacher because I don't have to do any of it with our students.
Shay, you're a mathematician.
I someone should have told me that a long time ago. I am not.
Have hope, Shay, about your math.
My
No,
sixth
that's
grade
good.
teacher would be really proud of my.
I would say, just an idea along those lines, since we're talking about the parent support, I mean, I went to like the One Pill Can Kill workshop here and it's like, there weren't very many people there. There was more
I know.
presenters than parents. And so having remote access to some of those things, if it is a live thing within our district or school or site or whatever, to have the Zoom possibility, so you don't have to get a sitter or whatever else, and just, that would be really helpful because accessibility is only as good as being able to get there. And it's hard to make it to any, school board meeting or midweek meeting, unless they're giving out candy out of the trunk of a car. And so.
And everybody comes, yeah.
Right, so Ed Reports, is that a neutral entity in California, is it a national entity? Cause we rely on them to help, which is great, it's so many curriculums, I understand we need to have maybe somebody, what's their motivation?
Well, it's just a core content review, I mean, you can look it up, we don't use it, like, it doesn't rule out everything, so we just use it to start to narrow down, when we're looking at 64 things, we have to go.
It's Cliff Notes.
Yes,
Got it.
so, and then the state goes through the process of all the things that went through, so we wouldn't use Ed Reports as we like continue in the process, we'll use our screening process in the toolkit, that was just an example of how to like narrow it down, and it doesn't mean if it received one high mark and one medium mark, that we wouldn't continue to maybe look at it, but it might not meet, maybe it doesn't have any technology,
Yeah.
and that would be noted in Ed Reports, so.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck, that is a very important endeavor, so thank you for the informational item.
So Ed Reports is an independent review, they're not like, backed by Houghton Mifflin or something and pushing Houghton
That's how
Mifflin
scary.
materials, but
No, they're not.
how sometimes those studies that come out that say this is bad and then it's, sponsored by the other company or whatever,
Yes, that's what I
so,
was thinking.
yeah, it's just an independent thing.
Okay, thanks.
Tracy, any comments?
I
just-
that was.
Yeah, that's great. I first of all, I had to say it's great
I'll have
having a
questions
teacher here. Pardon me?
Actually, I'll probably have questions later, I'm kind of absorbing
Oh.
everything.
Well, now
Thanks
you
for-
know from the training, you can call me.
It's great having a teacher who's done, just,
Yes.
I really appreciate that. Just one quick question. Hopefully you're gonna continue with the advanced math for the middle schoolers who are.
So, yes, that is a good question. So we will adopt a program, we will look at one that has also advanced math. And then because we offer integrated one for our 8th graders, we will have to look at that as a pilot process also. So our 3 teachers that teach integrated one at the 3 middle schools will be part of that.
Okay,
So, yeah.
thank you.
So you'll actually see TK5, 6-8 with advanced math and then integrated one, so all of that will be.
So it will kind of continue to what they have now,
No, we'll adopt across the board, so.
but there'll
Until
be,
then.
there'll be the opportunity for kids who excel at math to have
Oh,
a
yes, no,
challenge.
we'll still offer that.
That's my other question.
Just, that'll be new curriculum.
Okay, in the new curriculum, great, okay. Any other, I guess we're done with this.
No, that was good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Just. You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
For asking me to be here.
Where's my agenda? So I think we're up to policy review. Any board member like to, not prepared to take action on any of the policies? You don't wanna pull any for the next, okay. Hearing none?
So just remember, you have to do each of these individually, so.
We have to do them individually, that's right.
9-1, 9-2, 9-3.
Okay. Again, everybody's understanding of me for this new, we used a bunch of them in the past, it's okay. And 9-1, anybody have any questions about that?
I'll make a motion to adopt policy number 91, waiving any subsequent readings.
Second.
So it's
Wait,
not
wait,
policy
wait, wait,
91,
wait.
it's just number, it's
Oh.
it's agenda item 9.1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want us to read the whole thing?
Policy number 3516.5, emergency schedules, item 91, sorry.
And the administrative regulation 3512, that's part of policy 912.
That one.
I second the approval of all of those things.
Okay, we have a motion by Jason, a second by Ryan to approve policy 9.1, all in favor?
Aye.
A very rough motion,
That
I'm
was a
sorry
good
about that.
practice.
Okay, let's go on, it's not just you, John.
Let's all take a swing at it.
I'm not trying
Let's all take
very
a swing at it.
Okay, I'll make a motion, let's go to 9.2, I'll make a motion to approve policy administrative regulation 5125, and student records board policy administrative regulation 1312.3, and the uniform complaint procedures board policy exhibit 5145.6, parent guardian notifications.
I'll second.
Motion by John, second by Jean, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes 5-0. And this brings us to 9.3.
Your turn, Tracy.
Come on, Tracy, you can do it.
I tried and failed spectacularly.
We're all a team.
I'll make a motion to approve policy 9.3.
You know, that's good enough for me. Is that good enough for you, Cliff?
Sure, so it's not, so the item is not a policy.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, item 9.3.
It's just agenda item
Yeah.
9.3, which happens to be
9.3.
policy.
Okay,
I did the same thing, I feel bad.
okay, I'll second. So we have a motion by Tracy, a second by John to approve agenda item 9.3. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
I would like to make a motion to approve the first reading selected board policies for review, board policy 6142.91, reading language arts instruction.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, second by Jason to approve agenda item 9.4. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes
Good job,
5-0.
Took the short one.
Okay, now we're on to pending agenda items. I don't see anything on the, I guess there's an annual audit report for June coming up the next meeting.
Hopefully,
State principal.
And our next regular scheduled meeting will be December 15th, 2025, which is a Monday, and that'll be our governing elections meeting. And any comments from any of the board members about anything? Just want to thank Shay and everybody for their effort, and Megan, everybody. And the meeting is adjourned.